Welcome to Spindle and Spoon Homestead, your place for simple living and hand spinning. Today's recipe video is for Satsuma Marmalade. Satsumas are a small mandarin type of orange that is grown in Louisiana. For this recipe, you'll need 4 pounds of Satsumas. To make marmalade, the way I prefer to do it is to cut my Satsumas into quarters and then eighths so that I can easily pull out the seeds, and I also cut off anything undesirable on the peels, and that's how I get started. This recipe will make about 12 half-pint jars of marmalade, and it's a delicious bittersweet marmalade flavor, just like your typical orange marmalade, but it's using the citrus that grows in my area. And if you live in Louisiana, you probably already know about Satsumas. They are popular for backyard gardens and orchards because they can tolerate slightly colder temperatures than a lot of the citrus trees can. So even if there's a light frost once in a while, it's going to be okay. Now, we have had some very hard freezes in the past since I've lived here, and I know that people with Satsuma trees have really struggled to keep them protected from those. So they do still need a warm climate, and a hard freeze could be really challenging for them to survive. The citrus industry in Louisiana has been struggling for the past, 50 years or so due to unexpected hard freezes and also hurricanes, and also diseases. So the citrus industry in Louisiana is not as robust as it is in, say, Florida, but there is a long history of growing citrus in Louisiana, including Satsumas and oranges and other things. And in North Louisiana, we can grow the Satsumas. Alright, I've got my Satsumas all chopped, and I'm just picking out any discolored peels. Now I'm putting a small batch in my 14-cup food processor and pulsing it so that the peels get chopped to roughly the size of my pinky fingernail or smaller. If you like bigger chunks of peel in your marmalades, you can just chop them however you like, but I prefer mine to be pretty small. So I'm going to do that for each small batch and put it in my big stock pot once it's chopped. Some people prefer to slice the peels by hand so they're in thin strips. Other people like really big chunks, like they wouldn't even chop it at all, like past this point already. And some people like me like the peels to be chopped a little smaller. I like it that way because it's more easy to spread. This food processor is my favorite thing. It's a 14-cup food processor, and it's relatively quiet, and I just love it. I use it to make peanut butter and hummus and all kinds of things. Alright, so you're going to add 6 cups of water and 8 cups of sugar and 3/4 cup of lemon juice. And that's all the ingredients that are in this Satsuma marmalade. This recipe that I'm doing today does not use pectin or Sure gel. It just uses sugar, and you boil it down until it is gelled. So it does take quite a while longer than the pectin types of recipes. You need to bring your mixture up to a boil and then turn the heat down slightly so that it stays boiling or simmering for a very long time. I'm skimming off the foam because that makes the jam look better in the jars. And you're just going to be boiling a light boil like you see in the video here until it's thicker and syrupy and also reaches 220 degrees Fahrenheit. I highly recommend using a thermometer because jelly can be tricky. Make sure you're stirring regularly because if you heat it too long without stirring, it will scorch on the bottom. It took this marmalade, I can't remember, 2 or 3 hours to fully boil down and reach the right temperature. So you gotta be patient with this type of recipe. At this point, it did reach 220 degrees, and previously I had put 2 plates in my freezer to do the plate test, which I'm about to show you. So the thermometer said 220. I grab a frozen plate, put a little dab of marmalade on it, put it back in the freezer for 2 minutes, and then check it. In this case, it was too liquidy still. So I boiled it a little bit longer and then did the plate test again. And you're looking for the marmalade to wrinkle slightly when you push it with your finger and to just behave like jelly in general. And that's how you know that once your jelly, or marmalade in this case, has cooled, it will in fact be jellied and not liquid like syrup. Alright, once your marmalade is all finished and passes the plate test, you need to fill your mason jars. These are half pint mason jars, and you fill them to 1/4 inch of the top. These jars are hot. They've been boiling in my Waterbath canner, waiting for this moment. I'm also keeping the marmalade hot and a little bubbly because you want it to be very hot when you start processing it so that all the bacteria gets killed in the water bath stage. I didn't quite get a dozen jars this time, so this jar that's only half full, I'm just gonna put it in my fridge and we can use it immediately. I'm just evening out the jars, making sure they all have 1/4 inch headspace. And now I'm wiping the rims of any spilled marmalade so that the lids have proper contact with the jars. And now I'm putting on the lids and rings. When you screw the rings on, you don't want to screw it super tight, just barely tighten it with one hand. That way the vacuum seal can work correctly in the water bath so that your jar gets sealed correctly. And now that they all have their lids, they can go into the canner, which is already super hot and boiling. So I use my jar lifter to move them into the hot water canner. And I lower them under the water. They need 1 inch of water at least above them, and process them for 10 minutes. That's boil them in the canner for 10 minutes. Then they can be removed, and you want to be careful not to touch the seals for 12 to 24 hours, basically until they are fully cooled, and double check all of the seals to make sure they have sealed properly. Any that have not sealed properly, just put them in your fridge and use them, but all those that have sealed are shelf stable. Thanks for watching this recipe. I hope it was helpful. You can use this recipe for other types of oranges to make a different marmalade, but I wanted to show you Satsuma Marmalade from my Louisiana grown Satsumas. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.